5 o'clock. I will call the January 21st, 2020 meeting of the Freetown Board of Selectmen to order. First item on the agenda would be the approving of the special town meeting date. It was put out to have it February 15th at 1 o'clock at the Freetown Elementary School. Is that still the board's feeling?
I'll make a motion to call the special town meeting for Saturday, February 15th, 2020 at 1 p.m.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item number 2 would be opening and closing the warrant for the special town meeting for Saturday, February 15th. I see that Article 1 would be the Lake District article, and Article 2 would be the transfer of the assessor's budget. I'm wondering if it might not be better to switch them around. That way, if people don't make a bad exit, okay? Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I'll hear a motion on that.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open and close the warrant for the September 15th special town meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 4. Item number 4 would be
Number 3.
it's finalized. Yes. Right. So, is there any thing else to add to the warrant?
No. We just closed it too.
Yes, I know. So yes. So we'll finalize the warrant for the special town meeting for February 15th. All right. Do we want to have a Do we need to have a motion?
Mhm.
We need to have a motion. Tim says,
Motion
a
made.
parliamentarian.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to finalize the warrant for the special town meeting for February 15th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 4 would be determine the chairman for the February meetings of the Board of Selectmen. I will be out of state for February 3rd and 18, and I may, if everything goes well, be doing a video by video, but I cannot be the chairman. So
I nominate Lisa.
Oh, you don't want to do it?
No.
Okay.
So be it. You're sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Reluctantly, aye.
Item number 5 would be the weekly warrants numbered 032 through 035 for the month of February 2020.
Make a motion to sign 032 to 035.
What item is that?
That's
Just
item
sign
number
the
5.
warrants.
It's just signing just
okay.
approving the warrants.
Okay.
Got a second there, Trish?
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 6 is a request from Elizabeth Lawton, the Director of Rainbow Workshop and Learning Center, that the board approve a proclamation designating the week of January 27th through the 31st, 2020 as National Great Kindness Challenge Week. There is a copy of the proclamation in your packet.
Do you want to read it?
You want me to read it? Okay. Whereas the Great Kindness Challenge was created and launched in 2011 by Kids for Peace, a global nonprofit based in Carlsbad, California, and whereas the Great National Challenge was piloted by 3 Carlsbad public schools and has now expanded to all 50 states and over 15 million students participating. And whereas the Great Kindness Challenge is 1 week dedicated to students and all peoples performing as many kind deeds as possible and may use a provided checklist. And whereas the Rainbow Workshop and Learning Center proudly demonstrates their commitment to an improved school climate and increased student and family community engagement by being active participants in the Great Kindness Challenge. And whereas the Rainbow Workshop and Learning Center is honored to unite all students and community in the spirit of kindness and respect. Now, therefore, we, the Freetown Board of Selectmen, by virtue of the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim the week January 27th through January 31st, 2020, the Great Kindness Challenge Week in the town of Freetown, Massachusetts. Be it known that the town of Freetown, Massachusetts is a kindness community and that kindness matters. In witness thereof, we have heretofore set our hands and caused to be affixed the seal of the town of Freetown in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts this 21st day of January, the year of our Lord, 2020.
I'll make a motion to sign the proclamation.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 7 is the signing of the presidential warrant for the presidential primary and the return of the office. Do I hear a motion to sign the warrant?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 8 is the abatements, ambulance abatements for the month of December. And the contractual allowances for the month of December 2019 were in the amount of $84,222.64. And write-offs for the month of December 2019 were $11,496.41 for a total of $95,719.05.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9 is the minutes for the Monday, January 16th, 2020 meeting of the Freetown Board of Selectmen. Are there any issues with that?
Motion to accept minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 10 is a discussion on the transfer station and boat ramp. And I'll turn over to George to chair. But I think
I
there's
don't have the,
I don't have anything here for 10 either. Well,
okay. So what is it,
well, it's about the boat ramp and some of the things that we wanted to look into. In a finance team meeting we had about a month and a half ago, we had discussed the possibility of setting up kiosks at both the transfer station and the boat ramp, so that that we wouldn't have to have the attendant or an attendant handle money at both locations and issue out receipts. The concept was that basically you could say we go in relation to the transfer station. Go to the transfer station, you see the fee, you pay the amount that you would need for the fee through the kiosk. You would get a receipt from the kiosk, and you would give that to the attendant as proof of payment.
with my understanding that that's in place. Is that true?
That's in place? No.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Well, handling of cash at both those places, and particularly at the transfer station, I think it's a major issue. And I've been discussing that now for quite a while, with not much results. The kiosk was supposed to be instituted, and I don't understand why it hasn't been.
We had discussions about the kiosk. I didn't think it was supposed to be instituted.
Treasurer discussed it with me, told me that she was working on it, and that it was gonna be in place.
They're working on it. There was never a discussion about numbers. I haven't gone out for anything like
I
that.
think what
Okay.
we need to do, we had only spoken of it as a concept.
No,
Uh,
that's
well,
not true.
Okay,
That's not true,
wait,
John.
George, no, George, I was at the finance, the finance
This
meeting.
discussion goes way
but-
before that
Well,
meeting.
we as a board have never, had it before us,
No, but-
before
I-
now.
I've had numerous discussions with
Okay.
David about this, and we did discuss credit cards, we discussed a number of things, and these discussions have been going on now for 4 or 5 months. We're supposed to have cameras there.
Mhm.
As far as I know, the cameras are not in place. Have we picked a vendor yet?
I sent you the bids that I got the other day. I sent you in an email.
Yeah, okay, this is,
Okay,
but you haven't picked one, right? You haven't,
I didn't get any response from you when I had sent you the bids, so
the
I wasn't
email,
gonna make a decision. without-
email did not ask me for a response, it just gave me a statement.
all right, but George, I don't
Yes.
remember us ever.
I think, can I jump in?
Yeah,
I
sure,
think I think we're
Yeah.
confused. I think we're talking about two different things.
right.
The
Okay.
credit card, are we,
The
have we
credit
done?
card is installed
Okay,
and
so-
has been for a few months.
Okay, so I think the credit card part of it is installed.
The credit card is installed, has been for approximately 3 months now.
Now, you're on the financial management
Right.
team, you're board health. This is the first time I've heard about a kiosk at the transfer station. I've heard about a kiosk at the boat ramp, but never the transfer station. And it's a cost of the kiosks themselves, which would have to be
Right.
appropriated through through capital equipment, probably at the annual town meeting. So I think there's work to be done, but I do think that
Do you know
George,
what the cost is by any chance?
there is paperwork on it because Carlton put together a whole packet on it. And a previous board was opposed to that. So that's why we kept going with the attendant. But there is a whole packet on how much the kiosks are. And I don't remember offhand, sorry, everybody's got a cold here. I don't remember what the cost was on hand. But I think that that's where the so I'm happy that there is a credit card system over there, because I know that that was one of your biggest things.
The credit card system is up and running and has been for a while. I've had preliminary discussions about the kiosks. The type of kiosk that we would use at the transfer station is different from the type that you would use at the boat ramp, because at the transfer station, you're in a relatively secure area, it's locked. You don't need quite the security on that kiosk as you do the boat ramp. Kiosk that I was envisioning is almost similar to what we used at the feast. You put the money in, you get the tickets are a money value, you hand in those. Those machines are, to buy outright, are approximately $3,000. What you're gonna need at the boat ramp is gonna be much more sophisticated than that.
Okay.
So I don't really have a price on.
Okay. Well, the whole issue is and has been for quite a while now that there's absolutely no cash control to speak of. And that's why I've been talking about this for quite a while. And I would like to see some hard dates to get this accomplished. It's my belief that we're not collecting as much cash as we should be or could be, and that this would certainly clean up that mess. And I would like to see it done. And I'd like to get a date, completion date, that and the cameras.
The cameras, I emailed you the bids last week, so we can, whenever we decide, we can move forward with that.
Okay.
Okay, on the cameras, we have only discussed the concept. and waiting for a price. As to more security cameras at the transfer station, I'd like to see what they were gonna do, okay? And what the cost, what the cost is. Do we have an idea what the cost would be?
Yeah, one of the numbers was outrageous. One was around 6,000, and then the other two were about 4,500. They were within dollars of each other as far as the estimate went.
Okay, and,
So I would say anywhere between that 45, 5, somewhere in that area.
is that for each camera, one per
That's
camera?
That's for the whole, what we had, I had one company that came out on site and we kind of mapped it out, laid it out, said where we would put cameras, and that's the estimate. That was 5 cameras.
Okay. Could I suggest then that we get all the information together and bring it to the next Selectmen's meeting so that we can go over it and vote on it and get it done?
I'll make that into a motion that the estimates for a camera system at the transfer station be for the next meeting, okay?
And a kiosk for cash at
Well,
the transfer
yeah.
station, I would like to do the same thing.
Okay, but I think, well, I think we're gonna need funding on the annual to do that, so.
I think there's enough in the reserve fund to do this.
So I don't know if I'd be wanting to go into the reserve fund for that myself. That would be my opinion. I think it's something that we should allow the town meeting to decide on more than ourselves and just going into the reserve
I
fund.
would disagree with that,
Well,
Charlie.
but-
I don't
okay,
think that
but
those kind of
that's my
in-depth
opinion.
discussions need to be on the town meeting.
Well, let's just take it one step at a time. Let's do the cameras, and my only caveat to the camera system would be that once the police station is up and running, what's gonna happen is most of the buildings are gonna have some sort of camera on them, and they'll be able to see each of the buildings, and in case of any activity, so they'll be able to click into the elementary school, they'll be able to click into the town hall, not inside, but outside. So I would just want to make sure that they would be able to do that. But I would second the motion on the cameras right now. And I would also like for you to bring at least part of the kiosk to us, because I'm still having a problem on how that's all going to work. So if you could bring some information on the kiosk, but definitely the cameras. And then we'll have I just feel like I need more. I just don't know how the kiosk is gonna work, because if you're gonna cheat, you're gonna cheat. Like, I don't understand, like, so I'd like to see how that's gonna work.
Well,
What the kiosk is, at the transfer station, what the kiosk would do is, it just eliminates the hand-to-hand cash transfer. That's all that you're really doing. So instead of the money going directly to the attendant, it's going into this machine, then the tickets go to the attendant, and then I would end up going up to the transfer station every probably Monday, open the machine, collect the money, and just do it that way.
Okay.
I would say that we should invite Jessica, the treasurer, because she's very familiar with this. She's the one that suggested that,
Yeah, that's fine.
and let's get her take on this.
And Carlton too. Carlton did a lot of background on that, so.
Yeah, so
Right,
these are
it was a
people
couple
that know-
years old.
know the system.
Yeah.
I'll try to reach out to Chief Abbott too, to see if I can get what research he had done on the kiosks.
So,
Charlie?
Sure, Joyce.
Regarding the cameras at the transfer station, if you're going to incorporate that so the police department can be alerted to when there's motion there in off hours, you're gonna have to install cameras which are motion sensing.
That would be the
Which
point,
means he's
yeah.
probably gonna have to indicate that in the quote, rather than just a regular
Right.
type of video surveillance camera.
I am like 90% sure that they are. I'll verify, but I'm like 90% sure that the quote that I got was on
Then
motion.
when they trigger the screen at the police station, it'll pop up.
Because we had even discussed about, I might need another light or so, just to give it a little more lighting to catch the motion, because it may not catch it in pitch black or something like that, so.
Infrared, I mean,
It should
you're looking
catch
for
it.
body heat is what you're looking
Yeah.
for. I mean, a vehicle isn't gonna be a problem.
I'll verify that before the next meeting, but I'm 90% sure that they will.
So, I would make a motion that we have a report back for next week on the cameras, next meeting.
Kiosk also, John.
And, well, I think it might be better to put the kiosks so that we have up-to-date information off until the first week.
Up-to-date information on what?
On the kiosks.
Jessica has all of that information.
Well,
She's the one that suggested it and explained it to me,
Okay.
so I'm sure she could explain it
okay.
to us in detail.
I would just say we could put that off until the first week in March and give a time to get a firm thing on both, because the boat ramp one is also something that I think would be actually very economical, because instead of having attendance there and only collecting fees on weekends, Memorial Day to Labor Day, we could do it year-round.
Right.
So I just think that giving a little bit more of a parameter to make sure that we have the time to actually do it, because it can be something that's going to be a little bit more time-consuming than we may think. So
So when you putting it off to?
my motion would be to have the camera information for our next meeting. The information on the kiosk, we want to see it for the first meeting in March, would be.
Can we at least add to the next agenda, pre-kiosk discussion, whether we just want to go cashless, strictly check, or credit card?
Okay, we can do that. I don't see any reason we couldn't do that. The only thing that I have about going totally cashless is, say someone comes in, they have, they just want, the fee's only $5. They're gonna put a $5 charge on their credit card, and they're gonna be assessed a fee from their credit card. So, but I.
Can't get they won't be able to get the ticket unless they put the money in. So the
For
money.
the kiosk, right?
Right, through a kiosk, so that'll protect that part of it, right? Okay.
Right, that would be my, instead of an attendant having to handle cash, having to go out and get the cash, the kiosk would take care of it.
I
And-
don't mind putting it off till Monday, March 2nd, only because then, Charlie, you'll be here, and if you
Yeah,
have any
well, actually,
additional
we're not gonna
questions,
be March 2nd.
it'll
but-
be hard to hear it through
Right, yeah.
the thing, so
Uh-huh.
I don't mind that, but I do wanna gather as much information and have both
Right.
Carlton and Jessica here before Monday, March 2nd, so we can at least,
Okay.
for me,
Yeah.
like I said, you're a financial management team, you've been talking about it, I have not,
Right,
so
yeah,
I need
yeah,
some more
right.
information.
No problem.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
George, you're as chairman of.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, and I think we're good. All right, the next item is item number 11 for the Personnel Board.
So, in speaking with, Joe Fair, you definitely have to impact bargain life insurance. You have to impact bargain anything that changes a person's check. So even if it's a good thing or a bad thing, it may be just a letter, and of course, the collective bargaining unit is not gonna say no, but it's something that just it has to be done. I asked him to follow up, and I don't think it came through, just so, you wouldn't be hearing it from me, but, him as well. So, it's more of an FYI to everybody, and, once I get the, email, I will forward it off to everybody. But I just don't wanna go and do something that we're not supposed to do. And besides, we're still in the works of this, so we just wanna make sure we cross our Ts and dot our Is.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we send a letter to the bargaining units.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Also, I have a thing here to add Gwendolyn Hernandez from Asonet. She applied for the senior tax work-off program, and somehow she wasn't on the list. She does meet the criteria, and Barbara would like to place her on the list.
I'll make a motion.
Got a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, this came up last week. We put it off so everybody could be here, but we did extend it to the end of January 30th, 2020. It's to put Teddy Walsh as working beyond his current termination and submitting a letter to inform him that Chuck has no objection to this and would welcome him to continue as a part-time employee as long as he's willing and able. He talks about having historically had a roster of part-time, often retired employees, called upon Bud Clark, Ray Chase, and Wes Winslow, and he's asking the personnel board to continue. I just want to make mention that I love Teddy. I've known him for a very long time, and he got an early incentive to retire. And we are now setting a precedent that we pay people an early incentive to retire, but now we're asking them to come back to work. In the past, we've said no. Other people have come forward and asked that. And, this is up to the board. We're setting a bad precedent. He did a great thing for us when we were in a difficult situation, but I'm gonna leave it up to the rest of the board.
The early retirement, can you explain that to me a little bit?
Yeah, so when people put in for their retirement, they get like a bump in their pay for
Yes.
early, yes. So he has already received that. And I think there's a note on there. Is there a note on here?
Yeah.
So,
So what is the conflict on this? I guess
Well,
that early retirement bump, notifying the town that we're gonna retire 3 years or prior.
mhm.
I don't really see how that relates to this.
Because he received an incentive to retire early.
Right.
So he got an increase in his salary, so when he does his retirement, he would get more money.
No, I get
Okay.
that, but.
The only way you get that bump is if you put in to retire.
Right.
If you don't put in to retire, then you don't get that bump.
well, if,
I understand that, but I don't understand why you wouldn't hire him on a per diem or part-time basis. I mean, I think many of our town employees give us that notice to bump up their retirement, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Probably most of them. And I guess I really don't understand the difference in bringing them back versus a person that didn't do that, which is probably rare.
Right, but when you're gonna, this is up to the board. When you retire, right? He helped us out when he was in a difficult situation. Now, if you bring him back, then he's gonna have to go back to his original rate. He can't be at his bumped up rate.
well,
No,
yeah.
I would go along with that. I mean, that's fine.
Good, Charlie?
For discussion, I'll make a motion that we appoint him as a part-time highway worker, not a temporary highway worker, and that the rate, he would go to his old rate of pay, which was step 5 at $23.78 without the retirement.
Is that the
bump.
issue, Lisa?
What?
That he would be
Right, that's
getting paid
special.
more because of,
That would,
oh, no, yeah, I
if you're gonna make
agree
him a
with
permanent
that.
employee, he has to be in the
And I
union,
think
so it would have to
Charlie
be a
just
labor
brought that up.
Right.
for his
I
title.
mean, that's okay.
Oh, hi,
I-
okay,
Not
all right,
part-time.
yeah, okay,
We
all right.
also filled in the position, so we have everybody we need at the highway department. Now, if we needed him at the transfer station to fill in, I could go along with that because we're shorthanded. We have filled in everybody at the highway department. They don't need anybody else at the highway department.
Well,
They
then
need-
we shouldn't hire him.
Right.
Well,
We're full. We
I'm-
have everybody.
Unless.
We have everybody, Tom?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have per diem positions? I mean,
We can.
That's somebody that just doesn't have a schedule,
right.
and you only call them when you need them. Is that something that would work for you guys?
But I don't think
It's-
we have that in our contract.
But maybe we could put that in. That's a very useful tool. So you can have somebody on your list, and you're not obligated to give them any hours,
Right.
but when you're short and you need them, you call them, they come in, they do whatever it is you want them.
You guys.
Well, I mean, does
the-
that
the-
work for you?
As I see it, the concept would be, all right, as we've had, a worker goes out on Workman's Comp, they're not able to fill that worker's position.
Or you
Mr.
mean the
Wa-
whole position?
Well, or any hours of it. Okay, someone goes out on Workman's Comp, they're down a guy.
But, wait a minute, just so that I understand, you have a guy out on Workman's Comp,
Right,
so you're short one body.
right,
If you had a per diem pool, you could call somebody
right.
in.
Or a
correct?
part-time,
Or
employee,
part-time.
yes, you could.
Well, part-timer means that you have somebody on the payroll that's working 10, 20 hours.
you
There's a
could-
difference.
Well, let me see if there actually is in the contract.
If you go to per diem, is it allowed to anybody else that wants to come in per diem?
You can hire anybody per diem.
Without,
A
there's
regular
no-
part-time is defined, okay, in the union contract, part-time. A regular part-time employee is defined as an employee who works 20 hours or more per week in the town service, which has required or which is likely to require the service of an incumbent in continuous employment for a period of 52 weeks per year. However, an employee who works 15 hours but less than 20 hours per week and who has worked for the town of Freetown for 5 years shall be entitled to a certain benefits for the town is sustained in the contract. So, in other words, a part-time employee is someone who works less than 20 hours.
Does
a
it say
week.
if those hours are regular hours, like you work?
Yes, a regular part-time employee is
Regular
defined
part-time.
as an employee. Now, that's for the contract.
Right.
In the contract, they also address temporary position. Temporary position is a position in the town service which requires or is likely to require the services of an incumbent for a period less than 52 calendar weeks in continuous employment. So, to go by the definition in the contract, it wouldn't be a part-time, it would be a temporary. I would say that Teddy would be a temporary employee.
Can we discuss this with the union and possibly negotiate per diem positions?
Well-
Because that's not covered in the contract. from what
Well,
you just read.
a per diem, as I read that, the temporary is somebody who does not work a regular schedule. So if Mr. Walsh was, say, be asked to come in and plow snow, okay, he could be called as a temporary worker, he could be called in to plow snow. He could be called in to do something, well, say someone's on vacation for 2 weeks and something large has to be done and they need an extra hand, he could come in and do that.
And what would that classification be?
That would be a temporary.
So that temporary per diem sounds very similar.
Yeah, right, well, yeah, usually per diem is, when I look at per diem, it's, you do a job as needed
Right.
for a fixed fee, where temporary worker would be paid by the hour.
That's inaccurate. A per diem can work by the hour. As a matter of
Okay.
fact, most do.
Like, okay, well,
Okay. So-
I see it as one who just gets a flat fee, but anyways,
Can we
yeah,
Fast forward.
come back to the, let's take this one step at a time. First of all, the highway department does not need anybody, is that correct?
Correct.
They're full.
That's
We
just
hired the
right.
last
Okay.
person, okay? But we are short at the transfer station.
Okay.
So if you guys wanna hire a temporary transfer station, and ask him if he would be willing to work with Vicky over there temporarily until, because we still Do we have anybody that's applied for that position?
Yes.
Yep, we have 4 of them, and the interviews will be some early February.
So, we could hire him temporarily to work at the transfer station, because I'm sure she is backlogged,
Yeah.
if people would agree to that.
No, I would agree to that.
Okay, he
Okay.
can't work alone.
Okay, right,
Okay.
I'd have to get
Right.
I'd have to make that stipulation.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
He would have to
Okay.
work with Vicky.
He can't work alone because of his handicap? or-
Yes. Now, he does work alone at the highway department, but not alone, but he has somebody with him,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
He's gonna be-
Like, he has his own, he does his own job, like, you'll tell him what to do, but
Yeah.
somebody's with
But
him
if
all the
not on
time.
the road,
Right.
there's somebody with them
Yeah.
because of the handicap.
I have no objections to that.
Charlie?
I'll make the motion,
If he's willing.
to make him a temporary town employee. How about we just say, town employee, as needed? Does
Now,
that
can I
sound?
suggest that someone looks into this,
I will.
and can we put in a classification for something like per diem? It's very flexible and handy if you have people that are willing to do that. No?
Yeah, I'll,
Susan?
I don't think a per diem person would work for the highway.
Well, if we have the classification, doesn't mean you have to use it. I mean, for, let's say, the transfer station, if that works for them, great. If not, they wouldn't use it either. I mean, it would be just a classification that would be there for anyone that might need it. And you don't need it, you don't use it. But it would give you some flexibility. But
All right.
all right. I'll look into it and I'll talk
Okay, all
and
right.
see exactly what that will entail. But, right now we'll make, Ted, a town employee, temporary town employee for the transfer station, beginning February 1st until you're hiring somebody. So we'll say until March 15th. Will you have somebody on board March
Works for me.
15th? March
Yeah.
15th?
Do we know, Tim?
Okay.
I think it's up to the board.
Yeah, no, but in the end, yes.
Yeah.
When were the interviews?
I believe they're February 5th.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, by the time you get somebody and everything else, it'll be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
All right, can I have
Alright.
a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to designate him as a temporary town employee. Is that,
Working at the transfer
Right.
station.
right, so we can have a little bit of flexibility with him if he needs to go somewhere else.
Do you wanna do that immediately, or
Uh,
are we waiting?
Well, how about we'll do that until March 15th and see how things
Okay.
work and go from there.
From now until March 15th.
Okay.
One second.
Yeah,
So
but,
what's the exact title we're using here?
A
I'm-
temporary town employee for the transfer station,
Okay.
okay.
beginning as soon as possible until March 15th, because you guys are all set.
You made a motion, right, Charlie?
Yes.
I would also need a pay rate for him as well.
It would, his pay rate, his last pay rate for his position
That's his
without,
current pay rate right there.
right,
So-
without any retirement incentive was $23.78.
You know, on that note, that's a totally different job for him. And if there's a pay rate for an attendant at the transfer station, that's what he should be getting, not based on what he used to do.
Okay, but then, all right, then we open up some other issues, as always. Let me see here, if I can see where, nope. Wrong one.
I would consider this a brand-new job for him.
The rate for a transfer station, assistant transfer station, step 1 is $16.20. That's,
What's the
that's,
top step?
the top step is 1814.
Well, he can't be making more than Vicky, that's for sure.
Well, but, no, but
That doesn't
she,
make sense.
well, the rate for Vicky would be, I wanna say, it's like, it doesn't have it's 20, I believe it's 2468. At the most, it's gonna be 2480. So,
What is the rate that we've advertised for that position?
We would have run step one.
yeah, would.
1620.
See, George, the problem is that what happens is because somebody's been here for like 10 years, even though they jump into another position, they go to the next category, salary category. So if they're now making 2378 and they jump, they go to that category, 2378, even though they're in totally two different departments.
Now, is that union rules? Or?
Yep.
Well, the contract says if person's promoted, that they go to the step that would be at least 5% higher than what they were, because as the steps are, you could be
This isn't a promotion, Charlie.
no,
Right.
okay, well, let me just finish. Like, say a person was a truck driver, and they get promoted to a heavy equipment operator.
Okay.
Step one of the heavy equipment operator rate of pay may be less than the step they were on as a truck driver. So what they do, if they get a promotion, then they would go to the step that is at least 5% above what their step was. Now, here, you have a gentleman who was a town employee who was at a rate of pay that is higher than anything in the line for the job that you're proposing that he be a temporary employee at.
But the way I would look at it would be a little simpler than that. He's retired. He's reapplying for a job. Has nothing to do with what he did before. This is a brand-new issue for him and for us. And whatever the pay rate is for the position that he's applying for should apply.
I don't mind putting him to the top step, but he certainly shouldn't be making 2378 to work at the transfer station. Basically, again, there's no work for him at the highway department as of right now. So he either doesn't get a position or we offer him this. If he says no, it's no. Like, I mean,
Hey, what did he apply for, actually?
Well, he actually applied for that.
no,
as
we're
a-
just saying, because
Yeah.
it seems as though people want to keep him on, even though there's no work for him, and I get that.
Well,
But we can't do that. It's not,
You know something? I think this is totally, I can't think of a word, to tell you the truth, but this should be ironed out by our personnel department and given to us as a final product. We shouldn't be sitting here arguing, not arguing, but even discussing this. That seems ridiculous.
well, the problem is that Charlie and I were on opposite sides of this, and that's why I said, let's put it on the agenda for the next time. My preference would be, he's done, we've hired somebody, let's move on. That would be my preference. He's gone early retirement, I get it, we were down somebody, he helped us out. But now, we're down somebody but it seems other people wanna keep him on, cause he's a good guy, I totally get that, but there's no room for him at the highway department, so I'm thinking, okay, well, there's no room for him at the highway department, we can put him in the transfer department at the top step. If that's not what anybody wants to do, I'm fine with that. I'm ready to
No,
just
you
move
know-
on.
You know what I would recommend?
Yes.
Is that if he wants to work for the town in any capacity, he should apply for the position that he wants. And then you take it from scratch. And whatever the position is, if he gets hired for it, he gets paid accordingly. Is that unreasonable?
Okay,
No.
no, I mean, and just so we know, the request was to keep him as a highway worker, and this conversation has gone off in a
No,
different
only
direction.
because,
All right,
you're right, there was only about the highway department,
Right.
but it seems as though people wanna keep him on, and if you wanna keep him on, put him where he's needed, or where he could be needed. If not, if he's interested, so be it. If he's not interested, we're done.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
done as of
all right.
January 30th,
Yeah,
2020.
I mean, just to be perfectly clear, there's only one position that's open now, and that's the transfer station. If he wants to work there, I think that's great. Let him apply for
Okay,
that position.
perfect.
All
I'm
right.
fine with that.
Yeah.
Right?
So, let's make
You
this.
have no job
Okay,
for him, right?
all right, so we'll bypass,
Yeah,
Got the new hire on now.
right, okay.
we'll bypass,
Well, we have to answer this, or we'll bypass it, and it expires January 30th, 2020.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
into discussion.
I'm fine with that. Okay,
Okay.
moving on.
All right.
Appointment of Katrina Gonzalez, temporary clerk for the Conservation Commission.
All right. Just so we know where we at, pardon me, but did we ever get any response back from the Board of Assessors?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, well, this is what, when the assessors were in 2 weeks ago, they had asked for potential help in the office. We had said we could look into it. Going through my mind, I realized that Mike McHugh is working in the conservation office 10 hours a week. He being the trained person is in, my idea was to move him, that 10 hours to the assessor's office, so they would get 10 extra hours. And then potentially have Katrina as a temporary worker in the conservation office. Spoke to Katrina, she is, willing, that was the first step, okay, was she willing to come in for the 10 hours? She's willing to come in for the 10 hours. The, Mike McHugh is willing to, transfer over to the assessor's office. We contacted the assessor's office, we have not heard back from them if this is something that they want to do. So, I don't know if we want to make a motion that she would be a temporary employee if everything works out, or if we would just want to bypass this. But we had reached out to them last week.
And they haven't answered
They
yet?
haven't answered yet.
Make a motion to bypass.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you know
All
what,
right.
we're gonna wait until we hear from them,
Yeah,
because they
right.
might not even want it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
then it's on them, not
Right,
on
yeah,
us.
exactly.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Just for the sake of conversation, these types of personnel issues, shouldn't they be ironed out by staff at town hall before they give them to us?
Well, in all honesty, I thought the plan up was.
No, I
I
mean
saw,
in general,
but-
not in, just in general, Charlie.
Well, the thing is that we, traditionally, the board has taken action on such things.
Well, maybe a good time to look at it,
Yeah. Well,
but I
Like-
just throw
like I
it out
said,
as a
yeah.
question. I mean,
it's been tradition what the board has taken the action.
yeah,
They present it to us and,
okay.
Because the board hires and fires. Not the.
all right.
Who recommends?
That's the end of the agenda, other than for executive sessions. So, we have the possibility of executive sessions under Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Paragraph A, Subparagraph 6, to discuss the lease of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. And in parentheses, the negotiations would be in relation to space on the new police station telecommunications tower. And the board declares that there would be a detriment. Also, under Mass General Law Chapter 30A, Section 21, Paragraph A, Subparagraph 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Public Employees Union Local 1144 Luna Highway Bargaining Unit, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body. The chair so declares. And lastly, Mass General Law 30A, Section 21, Paragraph A, Subparagraph 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. The chair so declares. Excel Recycling Limited Liability versus Town of Freetown. So I'll accept the motion to go into executive session.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Grunwald?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, yes. The board will not be coming into, back into session, open session.